Okay, I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Enfield Planning and Zoning Commission to order. It's April 9th, 2026. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, fire evacuation. There are two main exits. One is behind you, out the back doors. The other one is to my left here. Go out and take the first stairwell on the left down and out into the back parking lot. Okay, could we have roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair, good evening. Ken Helinski,
Here.
Christy Antonio,
Here.
Linda DeGray,
Here.
John Petronella is here, Terrence Lynch,
Here.
Frank Alimo,
Here.
Joseph Muley,
Here.
Walter Krizel,
Here.
Rob Anderson,
Here.
and Laura Anderson.
Here.
Okay, a full house tonight. Next item of business is the approval of minutes of March 25th. Can I have a motion to
So
approve the
moved,
minutes?
Mr. Chairman. Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion or changes to the minutes? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Abstain,
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to abstain.
Okay. Commissioner Lima Commissioner Lima has abstained.
We forgot who he was.
Well, yes, yeah. Okay, next item of business is town attorney report. Anything?
Nope.
I didn't
think you
see
got
one
the
in the
new one yet.
packet. I guess we don't have one tonight.
Yeah.
Okay, zoning enforcement officers report. I believe
Not
there's
this
none
evening.
for tonight. Public participation. At this time, I would like to invite anyone from the public who would like to speak to the commission. The only criteria is that the subject matter not be on tonight's agenda. So would anyone like to speak? Would anyone like to speak?
Nope.
Would anyone like to speak? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to our next item. Bond releases?
None this evening.
Okay, continued public hearings. This would be PH 31465 Harris Street. Can I have a motion to take it, put it back on the agenda?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to keep this tabled because we don't have all of the information. The last set of plans was withdrawn, and we should have a new set. We're showing only 2 bedrooms for the addition, and we just received on the dais tonight a parking plan, and we really haven't had time to look at it, so.
Is there a second for that?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, just so I'm caught up, I reviewed the last meeting, and it looked like there was no action.
There was no action.
Right.
We tabled it after the
So it seems like the last action was the meeting I was at, and I think it withdrew and he resubmitted, and so just so I can participate, I want to make sure I don't have to get caught up on anything.
From my recollection, there were problems with the drawings.
Right,
And they
when I
needed
was
to be
here.
revised.
Yeah.
We could not tell exactly how the addition was being done. And so that was one of the big issues. And Lori, did you have something?
I just want to relay that you have received the survey, the new architectural plans, and the floor elevations, or the floor plan. And it was staff's recommendation that they just change, which could be a condition of approval, they could change the 3 bedrooms to 2 bedrooms and call 1 bedroom a living area or office or something like that, which certainly could be a condition of approval. And they needed to show parking, and I handed out a parking plan this evening.
Okay.
My question was just so I can still participate. I believe the last action was when I was at the last meeting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Thank you.
Personally, I would like to see it proceed tonight because I think we have everything we need to make a proper decision. It's already been hanging since November, and I think we need to somehow move on, either accept it or reject it.
Well, according to record, we don't have to open this until May 2nd. So I think there's time to get all the information together, showing us the new plans, having the 2 bedrooms, and in light of some of the situations that the town has been having between building and planning, that little glitch of plans not always transferring properly, I would like to see a corrected plan. I don't know if it's been fixed. It's not mine, but I would like to see the new plans.
Yes, Terrence?
I agree with you, Mr. Chairman. I think it's been here for a while, and it's time to move.
There was an alternative suggested as far as the 3rd bedroom that we can amend or create a condition of approval that says that only 2 bedrooms are allowed on the 2nd floor. And that would, I think, resolve that particular issue.
Well, our regulation states it can only be 2 bedrooms.
Okay, that's fine. Well, then we can make that a condition. The other thing is that as far as the parking is concerned, in my opinion, the parking is adequate because I did a satellite view of that area. It wasn't brand new, but I noticed there were 3 cars in the driveway next door to the house that we're considering tonight. And plus they have a garage. So it seems to me there was plenty of room for the 3 cars, and then assuming a 4th one if you put it in the garage. So it didn't seem to be an issue with the house next door, and the driveway is a little bit longer on the house at 5 Harris Street. So I think we can consider it tonight.
Mr. Chair, do we know if the applicant is here? Would somebody be
I
able to
believe he
represent
is.
it?
Mr. Cabrera, are you here? Yes.
Mr. Cabrera is here with his interpreter.
Okay.
I would like to hear the applicant. I think it's reasonable
But
to.
we've got a motion on the floor, and it's been seconded, so we need.
Right, we're
We're
discussing the motion.
Right.
Yeah, so, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, if concerns come up during the presentation and all, we don't have to take action tonight, but I think it's reasonable to hear the applicant give the presentation and for us to ask questions
Okay.
tonight.
Laura Ray?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just, with May 2nd, if we've been waiting since November, right, and if I can see something updated that is like final and proper on like before May 2nd, that's, you know, less than a month, and in the grand scheme of things, I would prefer to have something complete when we consider it, just because, right, like what is less than a month when we've been waiting till November, just to make sure we've dotted our i's and crossed our t's.
Okay. Anyone else? Yeah, Frank.
Mr. Chair, just to dovetail off that, the dating and the timing, so just say we do wait till May 2nd, it looks like we have to be completed by June 6th. Now, if we did that window, would that allow us enough time to go over everything? We don't have to close it tonight. We can start taking the new information in and then proceed forward all the way until 6/6. So it gives us, you know, enough time to see what he has tonight, go to the next meeting, and, you know what I'm saying? It gives us actually more time if we start tonight. It gives us more time to review. We don't have to take action tonight. We can take in, so that it really helps it's kind of both, the best of both worlds. It helps get more information and have more time to decipher it. It gives us more time. I mean, if that makes sense. But if we just hold off and wait till, you know, the 2nd, it gives us a shorter window to look at everything. If that makes sense.
We have another meeting in April.
Yeah.
So we don't.
But I was just saying to use all the time, use all the meetings we have.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Walter first.
Can I just call the vote here and let's proceed? Just proceed with the vote?
As long as the discussion is finished.
Well, if somebody says call the vote, doesn't we just go straight to voting?
I guess we can do that if we want.
I think they had questions down there.
Go ahead.
I just want to say that they've had plenty of time to get all the right information in, and now they're still getting information in last minute. I think we should wait.
Anyone else? Lori?
The only thing last minute is the parking plan and modifications to the architectural plans can be made as a condition, certainly.
Okay, let's vote. I think it could be a hand vote.
Could you just name it, so, call names so we know for sure?
Okay, can we do a roll call on this, John?
Could we just clarify what
Please.
the motion is again? if you don't mind?
Table the hearing until we get all of the information.
Okay, so an affirmative is to table it.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right, for the vote, Ken Helinski,
Against?
Christie Antonio,
Against?
Linda DeGray,
4.
Frank Alamo,
Against.
Joseph Mueller,
4.
Terrence Lynch,
Against.
and John Petronella is against. Okay, so 5-2. We're 2-5.
Okay, so
2
we
to
will,
5, the motion fails.
motion fails.
Motion fails.
All right. Can I have a motion to take it off the table?
So, second.
Okay, so moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
That was Terrence Lynch
Okay,
and
Uh,
Linda Gray.
can you read the
Okay, legal notice, yeah.
the legal notice, please?
This was not open?
It was on the table.
Okay, the Enfield Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing at the regular meeting on Thursday, April 9th at 7 PM in the Town Hall Council Chambers, 820 Enfield Street, Enfield, Connecticut, concerning the following application. PH number 3146, 5 Harris Street, application for special use permit to allow a duplex. Jose Cabrera applicant, Maria G. Ramon Sebastian owner, map 23, lot 14, R33 zone.
Okay, welcome. Can you please each introduce yourself on the microphone with your name and address?
micrófono tenga su nombre y su dirección.
Mi nombre es José Cabrera.
My name is Jose Cabrera.
Vivo en el 22 de la Forest Street en Providence, Rhode Island.
I lived at 22 Forest Street in Providence, Rhode Island.
Could you bring the mic a little closer to yourself? Yeah, or move a little closer.
It's in place.
Just
There you go. There you go.
like that. Yeah.
Okay, and yourself?
My name is Otilia Arroyo Sterling, and I am a professional Spanish interpreter.
Okay, thank you very much.
And I live at 54 Bridge Lane in Enfield, Connecticut.
Okay, thank you. All right, so would you like to say a few words for your application tonight, Mr. Cabrera?
Señor Cabrera.
Sí, me gustaría saber cuáles son los puntos
Yes, I would like to say what the points really are,
por la cual no puede ser visto el proyecto ahora mismo.
and the reasons for which the project cannot really be looked at this time.
Okay, go ahead.
Muy bien. He would like to know what are the reasons
Oh,
for the project not to be looked at tonight.
well, we are looking at it.
Sí, estamos
We have
dándole.
decided to look at it tonight and to discuss it.
Dale ahorita y hablarlo.
Okay.
Then we need to make a decision whether we're going to approve it or not tonight. So we could approve it, we could reject it,
Aprobar
or
rechazarlo,
we could continue it.
continuarlo.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, those are
Okay.
the three choices we have.
Esas son las tres opciones que nosotros tenemos.
Okay.
Okay. So, Lori, you want to do you have any more you'd like to add, Mr. Cabrera?
¿Quiere agregarle algo? ¿Quiere que le
Okay.
diga algo?
So, un momento.
Yes.
So do you want me to just give a explanation of
ahead.
the application? So the application is a single-family dwelling unit that they would like to convert into a two-family. They're basically, so we had a lot of problems with the regulations at first with this one. So there's section 4.30.3, which talks about duplex residences, and then section 4.30.2, which is conversion of buildings for residential purposes. When this was first being considered, it wasn't working because they were contradictory. So we realized that the duplex residence is actually only for new construction for that 4.30.3. So we stuck with 4.30.2, conversion of buildings for residential purposes. The one thing that we do not have the right to consider is the minimum size of the floor area, and that is from Public Act 2129. They essentially meet all of the requirements of that section. There are some conditions of approval that would be required. Additional cellar space does not have to be provided if the existing building has a cellar, but if it does, it needs to have 25% of the cellar allocated to the second dwelling unit. And then the other thing is one of the bedrooms, or only 2 bedrooms could be on the second level, so the new dwelling unit, and then they need to have 4 parking spaces. So those things would be part of the conditions of approval, and they essentially meet everything. You've been given an updated survey, you've been giving updated architectural plans, elevations, and he did submit the parking plan, which I handed out this evening.
Okay,
That's about it in a nutshell.
thank you. Does anyone on the commission have any questions or Mr. Cabrera? Go ahead.
To the chair, to staff, I'm curious, because looking at 4.30.3, how you decided that's only for new, and then, for a for 40, yeah, how did you figure that out? And it just seems like it was,
Because when we
density was
started
an
doing the
issue.
calculations for both, it was like, why are there 2 of these? Why are we doing 2 different things for one purpose? And under 4.30.3 duplex residence, it starts with only 1 building is permitted on a lot. So that kind of implies that you're starting construction. And then it talks about density, and then you have to talk about how the lots abutting and percentages being 2 dwellings. But 430.2 is entitled conversion of building for residential purposes. So it was conversion versus duplex residence only.
and wouldn't the density still be an issue? I'm just asking.
No, we
this.
just it didn't make sense that we were going after trying to fit this into 2 different regulations, and we realized after Steve, Georgie, and I actually had a lot of conversations on this. That it doesn't make sense because this is not new construction. This is an existing house, and we have a section that says conversion. So it made sense that that's the section that we should be going
I'm
with.
just trying to figure out
Oh,
how
I
you came
understand.
to a new conclusion when we had to look at this density thing.
That's and that's why. So
That's
Georgie
what-
left. We all know that Georgie left in the middle of all this. So I kind of had to take it on, and then Steve and I had a conversation. I was like, "This doesn't make sense that we would do both of these because they're 2 different things." So we realized that it was a mistake to be looking at 4.30.3. Steve?
Thank you.
And if I may add, when you look at the 2 regulations, the duplex residency is the only one that includes the density requirement. The density requirement is not included in section 4.30.2, which allows the conversion to not only duplexes, but as well as triplexes and quadplexes. So the two regulations conflict with each other just the way that they're written. And that's another part of the reason why
Yeah.
we figured that the duplex residency is for new construction as opposed to converting a existing building.
Thank you.
Okay,
you.
anyone else? Frank?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to go back on what I was talking about before on the timeline. So I'm looking at the Planning and Zoning Commission staff report and the resolution paperwork. So tonight has the meeting date for tonight, and then it has the in-office submission to 1926. And then I'm looking over at the staff comments, and that date is probably the original date because it's 10/30/25. So did that carry over? Just want to know if everything's still okay with the staff comments. Are they the same, or is anything changed?
The staff comments are different because we modified, so 5 Harris Street came, Georgie was looking at it, they were having problems figuring everything out, the architectural plans didn't work, and so time kept going on, we didn't get any solution, time ran out, and so he had to withdraw the application. The new application, I'm sorry, I don't have the date in front of me, but that was prepared for 4/9/26, which
Right.
is today.
Right.
So the comments that are in that are not going to be the same as in the previous one.
But the comments that we have tonight that's attached to 4/9/26
Yep.
are dated 10/30/25.
What do you mean they're dated?
Well, if you look, it says department comments as
Oh,
of
okay,
10/30/25.
that is an error. I'm sorry.
Okay, so that should read what, just for the record, please?
A more recent date. I did that before I wrote this on for this meeting, so it's within the last 2 weeks.
So probably near the submission date, or,
Yeah.
okay. Just want to make sure it's, for the record, it's clear,
Sorry,
because
but
there's a big
This-
gap
This
there.
ended up being a cut and paste because.
No, that's
so
okay,
much
that's
work
fine, no,
had
I
been
just
done,
wanted
so
to make sure.
I apologize
'cause
for that error.
It's been lingering, so I mean, it's just a big,
Yeah.
that's a big gap.
Good catch, thank
All right.
you.
Yeah, all right, no, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Thank you, Lord.
Anyone else have any comments? Yeah, Chris?
I think we should just clarify, or not clarify, just ensure Mr. Cabrera knows that the third bedroom is not allowed per our regulations. So is that something that you're aware of and willing to adapt for if we put in the conditions to only have 2 bedrooms?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else? Oh, go ahead, Rob.
Looking at the parking plan that you have, it does not appear that there's enough room to fit 2 cars side by side.
Sí, yo tengo suficiente espacio ahí, porque hay una parte que
Yes, there is enough space there. There is an area that
se va a agrandar, se va a hacer un pequeño muro de contención con
is going
4
to
pies,
be
2 de profundidad.
widened. It's going to have a wall, and
y
it's
2 de
going to be
elevación,
¿cuánto de
2 de
profundidad?
elevación. Un pequeño muro de contención de 4 pies,
A small retainer wall,
la cual
4
son
feet,
2 de profundidad para 2 de elevación,
2 deep and 2 in elevation,
para que mache con la grada del vecino.
so that it can match together with the neighbor's steps.
How wide is the driveway going to be?
¿Cuán ancho va a ser el driveway?
Tiene 18 pies.
It has 18 feet.
It doesn't appear that there's 18 feet on the drawings.
En los dibujos no se ve como que tiene 18 pies.
Sí, tiene 18.
Yes, it does have 18.
Más el garaje que tengo un garaje que
Plus the garage I have. It has a garage,
tiene 10 por 18.
which is 10 by 18.
Oh, 10 por 20 tiene.
Well,
10
yeah,
por 20.
10 by 20.
Yeah.
If the garage is 10 by 20, then the driveway is 9 feet wide, based on your drawing.
Donde marcha la fensa del vecino, yo tengo un espacio como de 4 pies y medio. Tengo
Where it
casi
matches up
5
with the
pies,
neighbor's fence, I have some space available there.
la cual es el área que se va a agrandar para hacer el muro de contención.
And that's the area that will be used to make that a retainer wall.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question. Are you going, on your drawing, you said demo the garage. Are you getting rid of the garage?
Demolición del garaje, usted se va a deshacer del garaje.
El garaje no lo incluye en el proyecto, pero sí hay que hacerlo, restaurarlo, hacerlo nuevo.
I did not include the garage in the project, but it does need to be restored.
Okay. And my second question is, you're going to widen the driveway.
Entonces, ampliar el garaje.
How wide are you going to make this driveway, and are you going to be in the setback to your neighbor? You just can't go up to that fence. You can't make it as wide as that fence, because there's a setback that you have to adhere to.
La parte que se va a agrandar es del frente del garaje para adelante.
The area that is going to be widened is from the front of the garage forward.
So, la cual, donde se va a hacer muro de contención, se le va a ver bien la yarda al vecino. Yo
Where the
comenté
retaining
eso
wall
con él.
is going to go, it's going to make the neighbor's yard look better.
I'm not discounting. I think the man is probably very capable of doing this. I'm just concerned about the distance between the property line and where the driveway is going to be to fall into our regulations.
No, yo no me voy a pasar de la línea, no.
I will not go over the property line.
No. There's a certain amount of distance between that property line and that driveway that it has to be. And I don't know what that is on this drawing. You can't see if it's 5 feet, 2 feet,
Son
1
son
foot.
4 pies que hay ahí.
It's
4
4
pies.
feet that
Cuatro
are
4
there.
feet.
4 feet.
Okay, thank you.
Muy bien.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Yeah, John.
Yeah, with respect to the parking, I'm looking at a site plan by a registered land surveyor, Deno Land Surveying and Consulting out of Terryville, Connecticut. Anyway, this plan is dated February 4th, 2026. And basically, this survey shows, I believe it's 15 foot 4 inches between the property line and the house. And that width does not really comply with trying to park 2 cars side by side. And the plan that was given to us today, which shows the staggered parking, kind of reflects that. It's more like a checkerboard, and I just don't see how that meets the intent of the parking requirements to effectively work and to have traffic, have the 4 cars flowing. So I certainly got issue with that, and I'm not sure if everybody else had seen that land survey plan that I'm referring to.
Page 19.
That was in the packet. These were these were in a packet that was submitted to us with the floor plans as well.
Is that the original package, John? You're talking about the original package?
The one that was online, that was,
Yeah, the original.
The one that was
packet.
online for the original packet?
well,
or
last
for-
week, that we received last week.
So for this pack?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Go ahead, Laurie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So it is true. It shows the house to the property line at 15.4 feet. However, there is no setback for the driveway to the structure or the property line. So theoretically, they could widen the driveway along the house, and then in front of the house, they could widen it even further. Now, when we have a condo or something like that, we count the garage and the space in front of it. Obviously, the space in front of it would have a car and nobody could get out of the garage. This would be the same situation. So, and if maybe they widened the driveway towards the street, they could have a passing lane. And I suppose that is something that we could have them work on should you decide to continue this. I think that it's doable from descaling it, but we'd have to have the surveyor look at it.
I would, if I may, I would certainly recommend that we have it designed and we'd see it. I don't think that that's something that I'm comfortable with putting on a condition of approval, that they try to make it work or fit, and so forth. With respect to to that other bedroom upstairs, where they designed it for a 3-bedroom, I was a little bit taking exception to what I read here is in our packet on item number C. It says, after it says, this does not meet with respect to the bedroom, and then it says, staff recommends that one of the bedrooms on the second level be shown as a living space. I'm not sure that that's appropriate, that staff is making that recommendation on behalf of the applicant. I think the applicant should be making that, and that we should be acting on that. Although he's acknowledged that he will, that he does acknowledge that that would be a condition of approval and so forth, but I just concerned about drawing that fine line about when staff makes a recommendation. I think it should be coming from the applicant, not staff, to guide them through those recommendations and so forth.
If I may,
Yeah.
I mean, staff makes recommendations for an applicant to make their application compliant all the time. I did discuss this with the building official, and he said that it would be, that would be fine. They just wouldn't build it as a bedroom, they'd build it as an office or, so. And my recommendation is just, if he could do that, then it could be a condition of approval, but if you want to see it beforehand.
No, the way it's worded, I take exception to. I think it could be worded more
Worded better?
appropriately.
Okay.
That
My apologies.
Staff would advise that the applicant make that recommendation or make that
Okay, understood.
change and so forth. It's just the wording. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Frank?
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. Just to follow up, Lori, relative to the driveway setback, did you say that there's no requirement for setback when it comes to driveways?
There is not.
So the driveway could abut right up to the property line?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so when we first got this application back in November, I was very confused about the shape of the house itself. It didn't really, in my opinion, properly show the second floor, and I had trouble visualizing what the new house was going to look like. I think you have fixed that problem with this particular drawing that you have submitted for this meeting. It's a lot clearer what it's going to look like, much better job on the drawing. So I commend you for that. You did a nice job on that. And I don't know if anyone here has an issue with that. But you did do a good job on that. However, it looks like we still have some issues here that the commissioners would like to see some more information on. In particular, the driveway and the parking. Okay, how are you going to accommodate the parking? The drawing we have today shows the cars very close to each other, whereas it looks like they can't get by. Okay? And so that's confusing us. We're not sure how that's all going to work. We're worried that there's going to be a traffic jam in your driveway and on the street and that kind of thing. Okay? The second bedroom
El segundo cuarto.
A third bedroom is not allowed,
No se permite un
okay?
tercer cuarto.
So you cannot have a third bedroom on your second floor.
Dormitorio. El
So
tercero como un dormitorio.
our staff has recommended you designate a separate room,
Recomiendan de que designe un cuarto
like another den or something like that, rather than a bedroom. However,
decirlo un dormitorio.
I think the commission might feel more comfortable if you were just to revise your drawing and show two bedrooms,
Entonces en su dibujo muestra que son
Only.
dormitorios.
okay?
Okay.
I think, am I getting it? I think that's what I heard.
Me parece que eso fue lo que
And also, we'd like to see the dimensions on the driveway for the cars and how they would be parked and all that, because we're very confused about that
También
right
estamos
now,
confundidos con eso.
okay?
Está bien.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I do have another comment.
Go ahead, John.
With respect to the cellar requirement,
En cuanto
No.
al sótano, los requisitos
they're supposed to have
ellos están supuestos también
available to them 25% of the cellar space? Is that how I'm reading this, or is it?
That's what it says.
And the issue at hand here is that I guess the upstairs apartment does not have any access to the cellar unless they go through the ground level apartment. Is that a fair statement? That's what I'm seeing on the floor plans and so forth.
I believe so, but they have, their access is kind of through the back
por la parte de atrás.
and up the stairs, so I imagine, I guess I would have to look at the floor plans once more.
Yeah, because the access to the upstairs apartment is through a back entry into a hallway up the stairs. Now, the only access to the basement is from the first floor unit,
De la unidad piso.
going down the cellar, down those stairs. And there's no hatchway or anything from the exterior or anything of that sort. So that's something else I think that we need to deal with or address, or I think, is it, do we make that a condition of approval and so forth? But that's also a requirement that we need to make sure that we address.
Okay, thank you, that's a good point.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Chris, go ahead.
Can we just clarify for the applicant, is there a hatchway outside to the basement? Or is no, there's no
No.
hatch, okay.
So the person on the second floor to go down to the cellar would have to go down onto the first floor and then access the cellar that way,
La sótano de esa forma. Así es como
through a hallway, or you said it was a hallway or something, John?
primer piso de primer piso para el sótano.
They would have to go and knock on the first floor unit and
First floor
get
unit.
permission to go through their unit to
And
get
then-
into the
Then
basement.
go into the cellar. Okay,
That's certainly,
good point, yeah, good point, okay.
yeah.
So, de la entrada. Subí.
What's that?
Let's see how the first floor goes.
Yeah, I just had one more question. Yes, so can you clarify, Mr. Cabrera, that that is the case where
Ese es el caso, señor.
someone on the second floor wanting to go to the basement would have to go into the first floor apartment, gain access to that, knocking on the door or whatever, and then go to the cellar?
This is the first.
And was it your intent to provide cellar space to the
Ahora
second floor?
mismo está así, pero no.
That's how it is
yo
right
entiendo-
now.
Yo entiendo que no es recomendable.
Okay.
Debo de
I do
hacerle
understand that that is not recommended,
el dombo en la parte de atrás,
and I would have to have this hatchway in the back.
pero como vi que el
Okay.
espacio era tan limitado por la línea trazada que tiene el terreno.
But I
so-
did see that the space is so limited because of the land lines within the land itself.
Porque de por sí la casa que está establecida está fuera de los linderes de la propiedad
Because
de construcción.
The house, the way it's built, it's also outside of the land lines.
So, de agregarlo no tengo ningún problema, yo puedo hacerlo en la parte de atrás.
And having to add it, I have no problem at all. I could always add it in the back.
Okay, so add a hatchway.
Mr.
Yes, go ahead,
Chairman,
Laura.
I'm looking at the floor plans right now, and if you enter from the back, there's the stairs that go, well, I guess they go up, but it says down.
They don't go down, I think.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if there's some way that there could be a double door or something. Because I can't figure out exactly how the first floor is accessing the basement without that.
That would have to be part of their design.
Yeah, so they need to explain that.
Okay. Does anyone on the commission have any more questions? Yeah, Rob, go ahead.
So I looked up the minimum width for a two-car garage, and the absolute minimum width for a two-car garage is 20 feet. So I would assume that minimum width for a two-lane driveway would also be 20 feet.
Yeah,
And there's not 20 feet of space.
yeah. A compact space is 9 by 18, so, but yeah, you're right.
Right, so that's 18 feet, and there's only 15 feet.
Our regulations don't require a two-car wide space, though.
Well, if
It
you're gonna have two
requires that they
families,
have
the
a-
family should have the ability to remove their car at their will without having to have a neighbor move their
I get what
car.
you're saying. But it's, I mean, it's not required in our regulation that it has to be two cars wide, just to clarify.
And our
But-
regulations don't allow front yard parking, so it's not like he can make a driveway in front of the house, like a impervious section. Because our regulations don't allow it. I mean, people do it, they're breaking our
It kind
regulations.
of sounds like this property is not really ideal for a duplex.
Okay, so as long as we're kind of at a lull here, I'd like to ask if there are any comments from the public. Oh, would you like to say something first?
No.
Okay. Does anyone from the public wish to speak on this matter? Yes, sir. Could you come up? Could you move back and have this person come up? This gentleman? Thank you. Okay, please have a seat and give us your name and address, please.
Okay. My name is Freddie. I'm number 7 owner. I have spoken and communicated with Laurie before.
You have your last name, too?
Irizarry, Irizarry.
Okay.
But you can call me Freddie. Okay,
Okay.
so basically I have 2 concerns that I presented to Georgie and then to Laurie afterwards. I don't want to be an impediment to this, my neighbors being able to have a better housing capacity. The way that I was explained by my neighbor in the beginning is that he had too many member families at his current space, and he wanted to have some kind of a relief, adding a second floor for the family that he has right now to be able to locate in the upper level, not to have a duplex. I never was comment about that. I have my concerns about that. Obviously, you might know what they are. But the second thing that I would like to bring up, I just already brought up via email to Laurie, is that the property lines. I think that there are some discrepancies between what I think are my property lines and what he thinks they should be, and what he's planned to expand them to be able to accommodate his project. And I explained to Laurie and Georgina before that I would be willing to accommodate whatever is necessary and whatever it's legally appropriate. But I would like to see a complete digital or precise assessment of the property, survey of the properties, not just like when they came before, about maybe a month or 2 months ago. I asked the surveyors, I provided them access to my backyard, completely access to my backyard, and I asked them, listen, are you going to be measuring again all of the points or markers, or are you just going to be taking for granted the markers that are there for maybe 30 years ago? And they told me that they're going to be taking for granted the points that they were there. And the previous owner of the number 5, they told me that whenever they put in the fence, the existing fence, they did it by guessing, and they didn't take into account properly the markers. So those markers might be moved a long time ago. So I don't quite I wouldn't like to rely on those markers. I would like to see a complete new survey done with GPS or with the latest technology available to make that they're precise. And whatever comes out from that survey, I will apply. I will comply with that. I will abide to that. But I would like to see my fence being moved just because the markers for 30 years ago, maybe 30 years or more, have been moved or relocated for whatever reason, and now they're going to take them for granted, and my fence is going to be moved 4 or 5 feet to their side. So that's one of my biggest concerns.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So anyone else want to speak on this matter? Anyone else? Anyone else? Okay, Mr. Cabrera, can you come back up, please? Okay, so
Entonces,
I drove around the neighborhood today,
yo pasé por el
at
vecindario
5 Harris Street,
el 5 de la Harlem.
and the streets are narrow,
Las calles son bien
the lots are small.
los terrenos
However, there are also several additions to several of the houses
que se
on the street or in the neighborhood.
dentro del vecindario.
When they happened, who knows? But, so additions for families and second floors and so on and all that, and additions to the backs of houses have all been allowed in that area. So my tendency is to try to work with you to see what we can do to try to accommodate your needs. Okay, that's what I would like to see. I also, the density sounds like that's not a problem, based on Steve's explanation. Access to cellar is an issue. Addition of a hatchway possibly would solve that. You have to commit to a second bedroom only 2 bedrooms upstairs. And you have to resolve the driveway parking problem, I think. Is that a fair assessment, commissioners? Okay. Go ahead, Frank.
So on the survey, what type of survey do we have on record, just to dovetail off what the resident was just asking for? We have an A2, Lori? What?
It is an A2 survey.
So does the A2 answer the questions?
That's as accurate as the survey is going to get.
All right, so the A2 is going to answer the question of the driveway width and the property lines, correct?
Correct.
So that's a couple of the issues on the A2 that are already taken care of, really. Thank you.
Go ahead, Chris.
And just to clarify, for the neighbor, your plans don't show any changes to the fence. Is that correct? Do you have any changes intended for the fencing?
No.
No.
La decisión de hacer el survey fue porque el vecino del lado también se quejó
The
de que,
decision to have the survey was because the neighbor also
o sea,
complained.
tenía temor de que uno fabricara en la fensa en la propiedad de él.
Neighbor was afraid that we would be building within the fence going into his property.
Entonces la comitiva me sugirió hacerle las medidas
So the
exactas al
committee
terreno,
suggested that I do the proper measurements of the land,
la cual es esa.
which is here, this one.
Ahora no entiendo cuál es la preocupación del vecino
Now
porque
I don't
dice,
understand what the neighbor's concern is.
yo lo que tengo que hacer ahora la fensa donde van,
Because now I have to have the fence where it goes.
porque en realidad necesito hacer las fensas nuevas para que la propiedad se vea bonita.
I really
adecuada.
need to make new fences so that the property can look good in good condition.
No es ni más para allá ni más para acá.
And
es
it's not
donde dijo
more
el surveyor que
to
están
one
los
side
puntos.
or more to the other. It's right where it goes.
Okay, I think one of the issues we have tonight is we cannot see what your layout is for the parking and the driveway. What you had submitted for this with the alternate positions of the cars does not make sense to us. We don't think that fits. Okay, so that definitely needs to be resolved. So you need to revise your plan for that to look like, so that the access of the cars would be proper, so that people can get in and out if you have 4 cars there.
Sí, yo
Perfect.
Okay?
Yes.
voy a trabajar con eso.
I will work with that.
Con lo de la entrada
Okay.
para el basement,
And with the entryway to
Lo-
the cellar.
lo voy a hacer en la misma entrada de la parte de
You just
atrás.
said that.
I will do that right by the entryway
Lo voy a
in the
hacer la
rear.
rampa para abajo para que pueda tener acceso al
I will
basement.
build that hatch so
Okay.
they can go downstairs.
Okay.
Muy bien.
And then you agree to only having 2 bedrooms upstairs? Okay.
Claro que sí.
Yes, perfect, of course.
Okay. So, commissioners, if you, Frank?
Yeah, just so I'm clear, so to staff, through the chair, we have the driveway scaled, correct? Okay, so we can do somebody can do a new overlay of these cars to scale? Correct?
Yes, they could have the surveyor do that.
Okay, thank you.
Muy bien, gracias.
Okay, I think that's kind of what we need,
Eso
okay?
es lo que necesitamos.
So, if the commissioners
Los comisionados.
agree,
Entonces, si están de acuerdo,
and, you know, I think we can continue this public hearing
continúale.
to another day so that we can get the additional information that's required, like the hatchway, only 2 bedrooms, the layout of the driveway accommodating the cars, all of that. Anything else? Did I miss anything? Okay. All right.
It's going to take them to get this.
How long do you think it would take you to put all this together into the new plan?
Y tener un nuevo plano.
La semana que viene yo le traigo eso.
I could bring that by next week.
Okay. Okay. All right, I think I would accept the motion to continue the public hearing.
I move. Second.
Sorry, who made that motion?
I did.
Thank you.
Frank made it, Linda seconded it.
I heard Linda. I didn't hear
We can
Frank.
show of hands, is it? All in favor?
Todos a favor. Levanten la mano. Todos la levantaron.
Okay, we're continuing it until next time.
Próxima vez.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your cooperation. Okay, next item on the agenda is the PH 3147 Bright Meadow Boulevard. John?
Yep. The Planning and Zoning, the Enfield Planning and Zoning Commission will hold public hearing at their regular meeting on Thursday, April 9th, 2026 at 7 p.m. in the Town Hall Council Chambers, 820 Enfield Street, Enfield, Connecticut, concerning the following application. Public hearing number 3147, 100 Bright Meadow Boulevard, application to subdivide subject property into 8 lots. 100 Bright Meadow Associates LLC applicant, owner map 35, lot 44, SDD zone.
Okay, welcome, gentlemen. Can you say your name and address for the
Yes,
record, please?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, for the record, Carl Landolina, 487 Spring Street, Windsor Locks. I'm joined tonight, to my right, Ken Mita, who is he is the construction project manager for the project, and that's Mr. Anthony Massimino. He is one of the owners of the owners group. On the Zoom is a gentleman by the name of Dan D'Amelio. He's with the Bon Giovanni Group. They are the land surveyors that have prepared the documents that you have in front of you tonight.
Okay, can we have the addresses of the people who are here?
Sure.
Kenneth Mita, 361 Charles Drive, Cheshire, Connecticut.
Thank you. Sir?
It's Anthony Massimino, 2455 Boston Post Road, Guilford, Connecticut.
Thank you. Okay, you have a presentation.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, As you're aware, this is the next phase of the plans to redevelop the Mass Mutual office campus into residential and commercial space because of the volume of the project and the scope, number of units, and in order to coordinate all the financing and other tasks phasing that's going to be required. And I think we had brought this up right from the beginning when we came in for our designation as an SDD, that we were going to be subdividing the property. And we've had several iterations of what we thought would be appropriate. So the plan you have in front of you, and I think what you have now is the layout plan. So it shows all of the lots. We're planning for 8 lots at this time. 3 of those lots are going to the building is going to be divided up so that portions of the building that go through structural points in the building to accommodate future building requirements and fire requirements and such. So the building will be located on three separate lots. Now, obviously, there are no setbacks there. The lot lines are 0, and that's what we anticipated in our plans in the master plan under the SDD. The lot, which is, I guess, the furthest south, which doesn't have anything on it, that'll be a future phase. That was the new building, apartment building that we plan. So you can see the garage is...
Excuse me, could someone use the pointer to kind of point these things out?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, while you're talking.
All right, great. That's what I'm referring to now, is the lot that's designated as 2E. That'll be reserved for a future building, which will come after the development of lots 2B, C, and D, which are the 3 lots where the building is presently located. The garage is going to be an existing, obviously the existing garage is going to sit on its own lot 2A. And encompassed within lot 2A is going to be the open space for the property. Now, I'll get to this in a few minutes, but we'll talk about what we're proposing, subject to your approval. And lots 3 and 4 are going to be dedicated to the townhome project. Lot 1, kind of going in random here, that's where the daycare is presently located, so that'll be sitting on its own lot. There is no tenant in there now, but the plan is to that somebody will be interested in reopening the daycare there when there are a couple hundred families occupying the rest of the space. So that's essentially the lot layout. I'm not an engineer or surveyor, but we've got one on board on Zoom if you have any of those kinds of questions. We are required to set aside, because it is a subdivision, a certain amount of open space. And so in the top left corner is our proposal for open space. Now, what we are... Am I on the right page? Yes. Yep, right there, yep. What we are proposing is to place a conservation easement over that, it's 9-something acres, I believe, in favor of the town of Enfield, that will prohibit the development of that open space. It'll be perpetually preserved and dedicated. We're not planning for, given the proximity to Brainerd Park, we're not planning for people from outside of the project to have access to it. We prefer that didn't happen. But so we've done a calculation where we're required to have only a certain amount as wetlands and steep slopes and such. And there is a, it might be on another plan, which we'll get to in a second, that shows how we comply with the, let's say, the usable amount of open space. Because if you've been, well, I don't know, most of you have probably been back there. There's a lot of wetlands, and there's a pond in that area. You can see in the top left corner a little rectangle. You want to move to your left, Ken? Keep going. So that is 85 Bright Meadow, which has always been a separate lot. I think when we did the SDD, we overlaid it on the entire parcel or the two parcels. We were originally going to include it in the open space, and we may at some time in the future, but given the history of that parcel, because I think at one time it was used by either the federal government or the state government for communications for the airport. So there might be a small building there which had, we don't know exactly what was there. We know the use kind of, but so we're trying to keep it separate for now. When we explore more about the use of that property back 50 years ago, we'll have a better idea of whether we want to bring it into our project because of certain liabilities that might attach. We're not sure yet, but so if that was brought into the project, that would just be, the open space would just be added to that to make it a little over 10 acres. One of the things I know you're not here as an aquifer protection agency, but I know you have that role. In talking to staff, this was, I guess, registered with the agency, but that was done partly on a suggestion by the Department of Environmental Protection at the time, which is now the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, and it had to do with a large diesel-fueled generator that was placed on the site so that the folks could keep working in the office buildings in the event of an electrical outage. That has been removed from the site. It's gone. It's been taken off. The diesel generator is completely gone. I assume, the pad might even disappear at some time in the future, Anthony, or?
Yeah, that's the intention.
Right, so there'll be no evidence of it, so I think we're okay in that regard. So, I don't know, do you want to go over to, what were we talking about? Which one are we looking for?
7.
Okay. No, that doesn't, that might be the revised. Oh, okay. So as we mentioned, there's the calculations for the open space showing the wetlands areas, the steep slopes, and other things that have to be discounted. And the area remaining complies with the requirement for, I think it's 10%, has to be dedicated for open space. So we've got, I can't see those numbers, and they're not in the sheet I have, but about 65 acres of area. So, but it's my understanding that whatever's left over does comply with the requirements. So you're getting more open space than is required, but it doesn't meet the technical definition of open space in your regulations. So in a nutshell, that's what we're proposing tonight. We need to do this, obviously, because we are at this time working on our site plan for phase 1. And I think we're probably a couple of weeks away. Anthony, is that correct? From submitting an application? Yeah, 2 or 3 weeks out. We know that were you to give us an approval tonight or at the next meeting, hopefully tonight, there are still steps to take. We're going to have to finalize and get Mylar signed, and it doesn't become effective till it goes on the land records. So, obviously, they're anxious to keep it moving, and you guys have accommodated us thus far. We really appreciate that. So I don't know if you have any questions about the layout. Mr. D'Amelio is on Zoom to answer any of those types of questions, but that's pretty much it.
Okay, staff?
Thank you. So, as the applicant did an excellent job in describing their application, this is an application to subdivide a 65.52 acre lot for an 8-lot subdivision. Lot 1 will consist of the child care center. Lot 2A will contain the existing parking garage and the proposed conservation area. Lots 2B, C, And D will contain and split the main office building. Lots 2E, 3, and 4 will contain the various parking lots and undeveloped land. The proposal adds an additional water line easement in favor of the water company along the northeastern side of the existing garage to bring access to Lot 4. There are no improvements proposed as a part of this application, and this property has been approved as a special development design district. Thus, the property lines, acreage, setbacks, and all bulk and air requirements fall under the SDD, and the SSD has access to sewer and water. As a part of plan review and comments, the application was received on March 19th, 2026, and March 25th, 2026 as the official date of receipt. Wetlands has reviewed the application and gave the approval on March 17th, 2026 regular meeting. In general, the open matters include the following. Sorry, I thought there was someone stopping me. The disposition of mandatory open space. The relevant section of the subdivision regulations is Section 3E. It should be noted that there is no ability in the regs to waive the open space with the sole exception of fee in lieu of an option. Per Section 3E1B of the subdivision regs, the Planning Commission shall determine the manner in which the open space is to be conveyed or preserved, including the following mechanisms. Fee dedication to the town, active or passive conservation easements, which is different from a conservation restriction, other easements to access open space, water courses, and etc. for maintenance purposes, private covenants, fee dedicated to the state of Connecticut, fee dedicated to a local land trust, and combinations or extensions of the above described techniques as listed in our regulations. While a conservation easement and conservation restriction can accomplish the same goal, here are some key elements and some key differences. The town of Enfield will be the grantee of a conservation easement. There is no grantee of a restrictive covenant, though the covenant will contain a provision that the town of Enfield shall have the right to enforce provisions of said covenant. Conservation easement grants a property interest in the town, and the easement must first be submitted to the Planning and Zoning Commission for review pursuant to CGS 8-24, and then submitted to Town Council for formal acceptance. A restrictive covenant has no grantee and thus transfers no property to the town. And the use of a conservation easement with the town named as the grantee creates a potential liability issue. So with that being said, staff recommends a conservation covenant to relieve the town of liability issues. Also, per Section 3E1C, at least 33% of the open space offered, not what is required, must be free of wetlands, water bodies, existing or proposed stormwater detention facilities, 100-year floodplain, or slopes over 25%. The proposed conservation easement area offers 10.15 acres, with the minimum being 6.55 acres within Lot 2A. At the time of writing this report, I was still waiting to hear back about the percentage of the conservation easement that was encumbered with all these different resources. And I would just like to note that I had not had a time or have not had a chance to see what the applicant is showing here with their calculations. A soil science report was filled with the Wetlands Commission, and that had noted that the wetlands did perform functions that benefit the local habitat. In addition to the easement, it's located away from any frontage, nor has stated the purpose of the open space as of 3/31/26. But since then, they did propose to keep access to the conservation easement to private residents, as the subdivision is located next to Brainerd Park. In terms of existing stormwater control measures, the applicant is proposing to use the existing stormwater control measures, and the Director of Public Works, Donald Nunes, has given approval of the subdivision. As he understands, there are more detailed plans for the development that are going to be prepared, and they shall be subject to Planning and Zoning Commission for site plan approval. The improvements required and bonded as part of the subdivision. The improvements are limited to just the monuments. As mentioned earlier, there are no other formal improvements being proposed. Installation can be confirmed at the time of either the building permit issuance or prior to a CZC and CO. Staff requires a certified as-built prior to a CZC being issued, which will show the lot monumentation installed. This means that no performance bond will be required, and lot conveyance can take place after the Mylar is recorded with the town clerk. Accordingly, this is a final approval and not a condition of approval. They are also asking for a waiver for a street numbering and index plan, which is required by Section 6C 10 on page 30 as part of the final plan. This is typically coordinated post-approval with the engineering department. This can be waived with a 3/4 vote, and the engineering has no concerns with this waiver, or engineering department has no concerns with this waiver. And per Section 4H, a developer's agreement is required. However, given the lack of any required public improvements, this agreement is not necessary and can be waived. In terms of the staff comments, the only comment I had not heard back from was the health department. Otherwise, there was no real comments offered from the other departments. I will just highlight that the building department stated that they need a permit with their approval prior to being able to give the full approval. But after I spoke about this with Ray, he said that you may all give your approval as long as it's not legally established until the building permit approval. Let me know if I lost any of you with that.
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, I'll try and rephrase it.
No.
So with the building department, they needed a building permit because of the subdivision over the main office building. When I asked Ray about it, he said that you all may give your approval just as long as the official filing doesn't occur before the building department approves that building permit.
Okay.
Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes,
Perfect.
thank you. Okay, does the commission have any questions or comments? Linda?
First, whoever gave me permission to walk the property the other day, thank you. It was really quick and easy to do. But I did not go all the way down into the area that you're asking for a conservation because there's a fence. And I just, I don't need to go past the fence. And I remember as a child, back in the olden days, we used to go down there and play, and there was a lot of water, and there was a brook. And the questions I have is about the escarpments, if there are any, because those aren't good to us, how much wetlands, and knowing that this is kind of like in a bowl, this property, how steep are the grades in that area? That's the same questions that staff has asked, so if anybody can answer that, it would be great, and thank you again.
So I'll direct your attention, so we blew up that portion showing the conservation restriction covenant, whatever you guys decide on. So when we took 85 out, the open space reduced to 9.8097. My eyes are good.
Yes.
The area of wetlands is 117,000, which is a little less than 3 acres, if my math is good. And then steep slopes, which would include, I assume, the escarpments. Is that 63 or 83 or?
63.
63. Yeah.
The bar down at the bottom, you're gonna have to, yeah.
Hmm.
There you
All right,
go.
there we go.
Until I use that apple, sorry.
So the area not encumbered by wetlands or steep slopes has to be at least 33% of that offering, and it is 57 and change. So And I know that Steve had asked for it and got on the plan late, but those are the numbers. I don't know if Steve has any more questions or if he finds that acceptable for today's purposes. If you want to see actual, we can go to the topo sheets if you'd like to see grades in that area. Would you like to do that? Okay. Let's see.
Sheet 13.
So I think that Dan, who's on the line, probably can answer this question more. I mean, obviously, I see lines close together, so I know that means it's steeper from Boy Scouts. But is Dan there?
Yeah, so that is 2-foot contours that are shown there. So you can see there are some areas that are steep, and those were all figured into the calculations that were used for the steep slopes. And then there's the wetlands that were delineated on there, which is shown with a line, and there's wetland flags. And then actually further to the north of that property, it kind of flattens out, and it's not as steep as slope. But there are some steep slopes. You could see, as the contour lines get closer and closer, that's where it's steep.
Does that answer your
Yes,
question,
thank
Commissioner?
you.
Sure, of course.
The calculations, like you said, are right there, so
Yeah.
that helped. Thank you.
Any other questions? Frank?
Yeah, to the chair, to staff, you explained a few different ways to accept the open space. Your suggested method from staff to us, will that require council action before we could approve the subdivision, the way you're suggesting to do the open space, in the spirit of them moving along quickly? Will that, please?
Yes, so a conservation covenant does not require town council approval.
Okay, and that's the way you are suggesting for us to put that into the package?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
So, Frank, just so I think Steve did a good job of explaining the differences. If we were to grant an easement, we'd be granting an easement to the town, and he's concerned about the liability the town would, because it would have not really a fee ownership interest, but an interest, a property interest in the property. So if something were to happen, we'd get sued, and maybe you'd get sued because not you, but the town. So if we did a covenant, the town would not be a party to it. We would put enforcement language in. We'd say, look, we're going to restrict on our own the use of this property as follows, and we're going to outline. I've done many of these, and we'll, subject to your approval, either way. I would normally, when I do these, I say, town attorney must review it and prove it as to form.
Right.
So you'd want that to occur, but you wouldn't be a party to it. The only right, we would give you rights to inspect the site and to enforce what you deem to be violations of the agreement that we've put out ourselves, or the restriction, so that if somehow it got developed or used in a way that's not appropriate. Like, for instance, it's not unusual to see no motorized vehicles. So if somehow we allowed people to go down there in their dirt bikes or whatever, that would be a violation. And you could come to us and say, you got to stop that from happening. That's a violation. That kind of thing, or even removing stuff in there. If we were to start going down and cutting trees down and that kind of thing, that would might be a violation. But from our perspective, and I think probably yours, although I'm not advising you, that's for the town attorney to do. I think the covenant is probably the best way to go. Allows us to move forward, doesn't create any liability on your part, and it allows us and you to say, well, the public doesn't have the right to go down there because we're not a party. We don't have an interest in it.
Right.
you know, and they can control who goes down there. Which I think, if you've been down there, I forgot, we went walking, but it wasn't with you guys. It's the Wetlands Commission's been down there a couple of times. And it's a pretty little walk, but it's not for everybody.
I think I remember being involved in a couple of these where it actually got into a negotiation where the council said, no, we don't even want that.
Right.
Doesn't do us any good. It's too steep. It's not next to town property that we could expand
Right.
to. It was like, it became a negotiation,
Right.
which took time.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if that's where we were going to go here.
So I always wonder,
About the spirit of time.
Yeah, in representing developers and towns, when there's an open space requirement, every time it goes to the Board of Selectmen or the Town Council for their final approval, we say, well, what if they say no?
Right.
What are we going to do?
Right.
We've just, you know, we have to provide it, but they don't want it.
Yeah.
So we have to go back and do the whole thing over again and redesign something else that people might find.
And that's why I
good.
asked the question, are we putting the brakes on tonight, or
Yeah.
are we doing this? But thank you, and that was very helpful information as well, because it gets a little tricky in my head with these every
Yes.
time we do one.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you, staff.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Yeah, go ahead, Laura.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, thank you. And apologies to everybody / thank you for your patience with me. I'm the new girl here. So first, just want to say, like, I'm very happy to see something happening with this property. So thank you. Just a couple questions, which may be me catching up from past meetings, so thank you. I assume we've talked to Deep about the diesel, not diesel situation, and they concur with what you guys mentioned?
Well, it's a moot point at this time because it's been removed. Staff, before Georgie left, her and I had this conversation.
Okay.
And she actually was the one who brought it to my attention. She thought it was mislabeled in terms of its relationship to the aquifer protection regulations because of something that Deep had done. But in any event, it's gone now, so.
Got it.
But I will tell you that as part of this, because we are within the watershed, and one of our neighbors is our friends at the Connecticut Water Company, every time we come here, I have to file a form with the Department of Public Health saying we're coming here, and I have to call or write a letter to Connecticut Water Company saying we're coming here, and here's our plans. So and last time, you weren't here, Laura, but when we came here last time, both of them showed up because we were going to do something quite different than this. They don't seem to be that interested in what we're doing now, or that concerned, let's say.
Got it. And then just confirming I comprehended this right, lots 2D and 2E, you'd like to be apartments?
So all four of those, so the original building at 2B, 2C, and 2D, the original building is going to be turned into a number of apartments with some commercial space.
Great.
In the I guess the grand foyer area and where their cafeteria was. And then 2E, down the road, there's a plan to build a new building there, which we showed as part, I'm sorry we don't have our master plan with us tonight, but we were showing a new building that was going to have a number of apartment units in it as well.
And so my only comment there, which is totally a take or leave, I know that part of the highway is rather loud, and I will just, oftentimes I know, say the Department of Transportation, for example, can get complaints from residents about highway noise and like have had a lot of conversations about sound barriers, et cetera, and like the wood that's there right now is not spectacular. So anyway, I always, that's one of the things I always try to bring up when I see apartments next to the highway, just, off chance someone melts about that a nugget. And
we appreciate that. When we come back with our site plans,
yeah.
If that's a concern, we'll have to deal with it.
Wonderful. And then like just the last in the conservation area, I mean, I know it's steep. I know some of the vegetation, some of the trees are in better shape than others. I just, if it's intended for the residents, I would just encourage a nice plan to make sure it's kept well for the safety of everybody. And then just last, through you, Mr. Chair, to the staff, I would love to hear the health department's comments if they submit any. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I did have a question. You had some department comments in the planning section. Have those been resolved? I'm not sure I heard much about that. How much of the open spaces encumbered with wetlands, water courses, et cetera, flood zones? Okay, so you got that, all right? You're happy with that?
For the purpose of tonight, since they have not presented the percentage that was encumbered by water courses, wetlands, flood zones,
Okay, so that's what you were looking for, that whole,
for that first comment, yes. So they have satisfied that tonight. The second comment that I made about there being some discrepancies on page 2, 5, and 11, that I've also included further down in my staff memo, those as a condition of approval to make them all consistent.
Okay.
Because there was a little no man's zone that was built over a driveway that may have not been intentional, but it was actually in front of the existing parking garage there.
Okay.
From what they've presented tonight, it appears like it may have been corrected, but like I said, I have not seen those, so we can keep those as a condition of approval.
okay.
And they were also missing the zoning analysis table. I have also made that a condition of approval, and I'm not sure if they've added that on.
That's been added as well, yes.
Perfect.
Which page that's on, I can pull it up.
Dan, do you know what page that's on?
Yeah, that's on, Mr. Chairman, that's on page 2, is the zoning compliance table.
There it is.
Now, keep in mind, there's not as much information as you might otherwise see with new construction.
Sure.
Because a lot of the things, given that we're in the SDD, don't really apply to us. But I think that's where we're at this point.
Okay.
I have a question on that. So you had different setbacks for different parcels, if I recall properly.
You mean from the master plan?
Yeah. So I think that's what we were referring to, because I'm not sure which lot this is relative to. Or you,
So I think what you're asking is that you'd like to see that whatever the zoning table, compliance table was for the master plan, and these match up.
yes,
That is correct.
Yeah.
that is correct. I think it's in here. Maybe it's not in here. We didn't have this. No, this is, grab the wrong. Yeah, so I'd rather that it matched that on the STD than, because I'm not exactly sure how this is relative to each lot. Because they do vary.
Right. So if you want, make that a condition of approval, we'll satisfy
no problem
staff's
with that.
concern with that. Yeah.
I also have no problem with making that a condition of approval.
Okay.
What we had to do, because the old project had a different set of engineers, and we switched engineers, so we don't need to go into the reasons we did that, but new developer, other, and we ended up having to get we have civil engineers on the project, but they only did so much because we needed to get the plans from the prior engineer, civil engineers, and we had to hire another surveyor to go, because systems and all of that. So the surveyor that's working on the project, which is Dan is from Giovanni, is not the civil engineers that are working on the project. So I think that was probably what happened in that sort of interchange there. But we can make sure that the table that you've seen and approved matches up with where we are here.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, just to explain the zoning compliance table. So the proposed requirements for the setbacks are shown on the subdivision plans. So each lot is consistently showing 50-foot front yard, 15-foot side yard, and 35-foot rear yard. But there's nothing proposed on those lots. So that's why there's nothing in those areas, because there's no as part of this application for the subdivision, there's no proposals for any buildings on those lots at this time. So that's why there's no distances for that. But as far as the subdivision proposal shows those setbacks for front, side, and rear are consistent on each lot.
Okay, thank you. We're okay with that?
Well, I just think that they should show what was approved through the SDD, because the lots are,
We have no problem with that, Mr. Chairman.
they're all very different.
Okay. All right. Yes, Chris.
Okay, I just want to clarify regarding the conservation. It seems like we're leaning towards covenant now, not an easement. So I know in the staff report, it was mentioned about having some sort of access to the public, or at least to the private residents. Is that still the intent? Or, I mean, I know there's no direct access from Brainerd Park. So it's not going to be immediately accessible to the public, the broader
Correct.
public. Can you, so it seems to me, which is not a bad thing to preempt, it seems to be more conservation for the sake of conservation, not for recreation.
Right.
Can you just clarify or confirm that? And I kind of just wanted to piggyback on Commissioner Anderson's comment.
So we're sort of getting into a site plan issue here, but I know what's being discussed is, we've seen, iterations of the site plan, and Anthony can correct me if I'm wrong. There's going to be, well, maybe he can come and explain it. You know what we're.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, okay, Ken, yeah.
The site plan, which will be forthcoming in our subsequent application, shows that there are 2 pathways from the proposed residential areas on this project into the existing park that's in the back there now. So we want to encourage the residents and people that are coming into this new development to take advantage of the improvements that already exist in the public park. And the intention would be that this truly would be an area set aside for conservation. It, as you've said, from crawling down in there, it doesn't really lend itself to everybody being able to use it in a recreational manner regardless. So it's probably best suited as a conservation.
Right. A more natural, so just to Commissioner Anderson, so a more natural, so it's not going to be actively maintained, so it'll be a more natural landscape.
Yeah, the intent is to direct the people through proposed pathways to the existing park.
Understood. Yeah, and I mean, I'm okay with the proposal.
Okay. At this time, since this is a public hearing, I'm going to ask if anyone from the public would like to speak for or against this application. Anyone from the public like to speak for or against the application? Anyone from the public would like to speak? I guess we're set. Okay, so I noticed there are several draft motions as part of this this approval process.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, I'm sure Steve will take you through them. So from our perspective, I think there are a number of open issues. We're going to need, I think, 4 waivers.
Yes, that is correct.
So you're going to need to take each of those individually, and they must be passed by a 3/4 vote. 4 separate motions probably. We're going to either need a motion on whether you want to accept the open space as a covenant, an easement, or something else. And then, assuming those all are in the affirmative, then just an overall motion to approve the subdivision plan. But we are asking for those, the waiver and some response on the open space.
Yeah, there are 3 waivers.
Yeah, one is for sidewalks, one is for...
One is for streetlights.
Streetlights.
First one we have is for streetlights.
Right.
The second one is for frontage sidewalks.
And then the
third one is
developer's
for
agreement.
Developer's agreement.
Right, yes.
And then there's the main motion.
Main motion, yeah.
So is that's how we would go and approve that? Are you guys all set with that? So we would need to read each.
Well, what about, do you want them to vote on no bond? Or is that just taken as a matter of course?
So you do, so the commission does have to make a motion and vote on each waiver.
I don't think so.
And to staff's understanding, no motion is needed for the bonds.
Okay. What about, Steve, on your index, street numbering and index plan? Is that need a formal vote or for a waiver of that?
My apologies, one more time.
Under section, I guess that's 1, or I, under the bonding section, your second paragraph says a street numbering and index plan is required per section. And then it says this can be waived. Engineering has no concerns with this waiver. This can be waived by a 3/4 vote. Would you like a vote on that as well? We did not
Mr.
provide
Chairman,
that.
actually, there is a sheet index map shown on each plan.
Yes, that should be voted on as well.
Okay.
And so,
Yeah, we're not proposing any street numbers for these lots. So I guess you need a waiver for that as well, Mr. Chairman.
So just to explain
I think
that,
I'd like to see a better summary of all of the different motions and waivers that are needed, because we seem to be throwing them out one by one here.
well, they're written out for you, sir.
There are 3. I heard at least 2 others mentioned here.
Motion to waive streetlights,
Streetlights Developers Agreement,
frontage, developers agreement.
The only one I forgot to include appears to be
The house, street numbers or house numbers.
Okay. Can you write that out real quick
So
for them?
do we need to add a couple more waivers?
There's 4 waivers that are in the packet.
I only see 3 and then the main.
Right, well, 3 in the main, right?
3 in the main, yeah. Yeah,
Chairman?
that's fine. But sounds like a couple extras were mentioned here tonight, and I'm confused. Go ahead, Frank.
Question, on waivers of street numbers or street name, are we addressing that during the subdivision application? I mean, during the construction applications? Right.
Well, you probably will be, but
You have to have house numbers.
apparently there's some section in your subdivision that says when you propose lots, you have to have a number. I guess that's the genesis of that, but
Right, later, we're gonna,
you,
right.
you can, I guess you can reserve the right to do that until a future date, if you want to.
Well, it's rather important to identify the
Oh, of course.
number of the house and the location.
Right.
Sure. But that
Okay,
doesn't
so-
need to be done.
Not tonight, right.
Tonight.
Yep, just want to make sure we,
Okay, yeah. Obviously, when we do the townhomes and
Yes.
they'll all have different, yeah.
Right.
So I guess I see 3 waivers, a main motion, and then some kind of consensus on whether you want a restriction or a covenant, easement covenant, or some other type of dedication of open space.
Okay, Walter?
Through the chair to staff, do we need to clarify the clerical error on the cover? That, on the first page, it's listed as 3047, and on the motion, it's listed as 3147. So I don't know if we need to.
Thank you for catching the clerical error. That was staff error when drafting the staff report. So the corrected number is, for the staff report is PH 3147. The motion does still hold the application number correctly.
Yes, the motion's correct, just the front page is wrong, so I just wanted to point that out.
Okay. Well, it sounds like we know what it is now, so.
I do know this is correct, too.
What's that?
The legal notice.
The legal notice is correct
That's
as
what we
well.
really
That's-
care
That's
about.
a good thing.
Yeah. And the signs are up.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so I guess we can proceed with the motions then, John.
Consensus on the conservation easement versus covenant?
Okay, we need to close the public hearing. Can I have a motion to close the first?
I'll move. Second.
Hang on, before we do that.
Oh, sorry.
Chris wanted to know if we had consensus on the easement,
Easement versus covenant.
easement versus covenant.
So
Everybody okay
staff
with that?
recommends the covenant. I'm in support of the covenant.
Yeah, I think we talked about that earlier.
Okay, all right. Okay, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Just that I believe we even have the applicant on record.
Yep, and the applicant, yeah.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Okay, motion to,
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
thank you. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to close the public hearing. All in favor? Okay. Can we go ahead and, okay, can we go ahead and?
Waivers?
Yeah, let's do the waiver motions.
Okay, yeah, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion on the following waiver. Waive Section 3.0 streetlights. Motion to waive Section 3.0 the subdivision regulations based on the following findings and reasons for approval. The finding, the waiver will not have an adverse effect on public health and safety. B, the waiver is not in conflict with the plan of conservation and development. C, as part of the special development district, a subsequent application will be filed with more detailed engineering for approval. The reason for approval, there is no demonstrated need for the additional street lighting in this location, and the traffic agent has not noted any concerns with regard to the request.
Okay, can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Ken Helinski,
4.
Chris D'Antonio,
4.
Linda DeGray,
Or,
Frank Alamo,
4.
Joseph Muley,
4.
Terrence Lynch,
4.
and John Petronola is 4.
Motion number 2.
Yeah. Waiver number 2, motion to waive Section 5F of the subdivision regulations based on the following findings and reason for approval. Findings, A, as part of the special development district, a subsequent application will be filed with more detailed engineering for approval. Reasons for approval, the engineering department, the DPW director, has not expressed any objections to the waiver.
Okay, can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been seconded by Joe Muley. Okay, roll call, please.
Ken Helinski,
4.
Chris D'Antonio,
4.
Linda DeGray,
or,
Frank Alamo,
4.
Joseph Muley,
4.
Terrence Lynch,
4.
and John Petronola is 4.
Okay, the motion passes.
Okay, motion to waive Section 4H. Motion to waive Section 4H of the subdivision regulations based on the following findings and reasons for approval. The findings, no public improvements are required. The reason for approval, lot monumentation will be certified prior to the issuance of a certificate of zoning compliance for each lot's development.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Ken Helinski,
4.
Chris D'Antonio,
4.
Linda DeGray,
or,
Frank Alamo,
4.
Joseph Muley,
4.
Terrence Lynch,
4.
and John Petronola is 4.
Okay, motion passes. Okay, main motion. Oh, there's another
Uh-oh,
waiver.
but wait,
Okay.
there's more.
There's more.
This is for the 4th missing waiver.
Okay.
Okay,
So if you want to read the 3rd one first, you may. That's the 4th one.
we did the third
We
one.
just did the third one.
My apologies, I was writing that.
Okay, motion for waiver number 4. Motion, page 30 of the subdivision regulations based on the following findings and reasons for approval. Finding, as part of the special development district, for approval. Finding, as part of the special development district, a subsequent application will be filed for approval. The reason for approval, the engineering department has not expressed any objections to the waiver.
Okay, can I have a second, please?
Second.
Okay, second. Mr. Terrence Lynch, you were first.
Who cares?
Was it Joe? Was it Joe first?
The photo finish.
Okay. Okay, can we have roll call, please?
Yeah, Ken Helinski,
4.
Chris D'Antonio,
4.
Linda DeGray,
or,
Frank Alamo,
4.
Joseph Muley,
4.
Terrence Lynch,
4.
and John Petronola is 4. now for the
Main motion?
main motion.
Before you read that.
Yes, you may.
Hang on a second. Go ahead.
Okay, did we add the condition of the zoning compliance tables to match the SDD application as a condition?
You could add that with your motion to approve.
Okay, I just wanted to see if John had that.
What is it now, zoning
The
compliance?
zoning compliance tables to match the SDD tables.
Okay.
And we should specify about the
On there is number
Oh,
4.
yeah.
on there as well.
I think we should. I think we need to specify that too,
As a condition?
as a condition that, I'll read it. It was, a restrictive covenant has no guarantee and thus transfers no property to the town.
Where is it now?
I got it. I got it started. You know how I am. I started.
Hey, that's not a start, that's a sunburst.
The sunburst there.
Same thing.
Who's support?
Got brilliance to it.
Okay. So that would be, so we have two conditions of approval. All right, the main motion. I'd like to make a motion to approve public hearing number 3147, 100 Bright Meadow Boulevard, application to subdivide subject property into 8 lots, 100 Bright Meadow Associates LLC, applicant owner, map 35, lot 220 SDD zone, based on the plans of record dated received 3/19/26, and including the following, which will be included as notes on the final plan. This is a final approval and no performance bond is required as no public improvements are provided. 2, all utilities will be underground. 3, property lines will be portrayed consistently as there is discrepancies with pages 2, 5, and 11. 4, the final plans shall include the zoning analysis table. Also, 2 additional conditions of approval with this application. One would be the zoning compliance table on the plans will match the SDD tables, and a restricted covenant has no guarantee and thus transfers no property to the town. The use of the conservation easement with the town as a name guarantee creates potential liability issues.
Okay, can I have a second, please?
Second. No, Terrence got it.
Okay, Terrence got it.
I tried.
Oh, you got it. You're good.
I was
Okay, can
trying
we
to
have
be quick.
roll call, please, John?
Yes, Ken Helinski,
4.
Christy Antonio,
4.
Linda DeGray,
4.
Frank Alamo,
4.
Joseph Muley,
4.
Terrence Lynch,
4.
and John Petronella is 4.
Okay, motion
Motion
passes.
passes 7-0.
Congratulations, gentlemen. Okay, our next order of business is old business FLD 48, which will not be discussed tonight. Not ready.
Oh, 1 second.
Yep, sorry, Mr.
Go ahead.
Chair.
Thank you.
Good night. I would recommend that the commission deny this without prejudice. We have received absolutely no communication from this applicant since it was submitted, and the mandatory action date is 4/18/2026.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I would just recommend that you deny this without prejudice.
I make a motion that we deny FLD 4883 First Avenue without prejudice.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Oh, who was that?
Chris was first, I think.
Oh.
These who I heard first.
I was looking over here.
Okay, can we have a roll call on this, please?
Yes, Ken Helinski,
4.
Chris D'Antonio,
4.
Linda DeGray,
4.
Frank Alamo,
4.
Joseph Muley,
4.
Terrence Lynch,
4.
and John Petronella is 4.
Okay, motion passes.
So, motion passes 7-0.
Okay, next item is item 12, new business, SPR 1964 100 Print Shop Road.
Yes, SPR 1964, 100 Print Shop Road, application for improvements to parking, circulation, loading, building size reduction, and other associated improvements, PPFWE 100 Print Shop Road LLC, applicant owner, map 99, lot 15, I-1 zone.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, while they're setting up, can I just want to remind the commission that the applicant is here this evening because they wanted to start the application, and the engineer is unable to attend until the next meeting, cannot attend the next meeting, and we have to wait until the Inland Wetlands Commission takes action on this. So this is just for discussion and question and answers and presentation tonight. So no action tonight.
Okay, thank you. Would you please introduce yourselves and give your addresses, please?
Good evening. Are we on? Are we live? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Rather than sharing, it might be easier to do this.
Okay.
Valerie Farrow, president of Good Earth Advisors, representing the applicant, Avon, Connecticut.
My name is Jim Petropoulos. I'm a professional engineer with IMED Consulting Corp., 3 Congress Street, Nashua, New Hampshire.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, please proceed.
Appreciate it. We do have we hope, a brief presentation, and as Lori and Steve had indicated, we did want to get this into your brain first, and we did have a conflict, but we knew there would be some overlap with wetlands, so I think we'll just give us some time to congeal if you have any other questions or address any other outstanding comments. So we're seeking approval for improvements to this property, 100 Print Shop, in the I-1 zone. This was, if you folks don't remember or recognize, it was originally built by Lego. It's the first building when they came to town. 1975, and they built it as a distribution warehouse. And then they built the campus as they continued to do that. The applicant, PPF, is really a subsidiary of Winstanley, which you probably also know. And Winstanley Enterprises acquired this property in 2018, July 2018, with a couple other surrounding properties. And they still have holdings, two other properties in addition to 100 Print Shop that they continue to maintain. At present, we have Coca-Cola and Lego Systems in the building, 2 tenants, 1 building. But they both will be vacating by January 2027. So this presents a very unique opportunity for Winstanley Enterprises because it will allow us to finally make a substantial investment in a very tired, somewhat functionally obsolete building without compromising tenants. As you folks know, sometimes it's the hard part. We acquire an asset and we can't do much because they're there. And as Lori knows, we try to trace the fingerprints of all the improvements that had occurred since 1975, which virtually was impossible, but we have a few lists, but a lot done kind of piecemeal, and I think that's why the property looks the way it does today. So in order to attract the quality tenants that Winstanley really prefers, the organization recognizes that they need to make some substantial investments. They need to bolster the look, but also improve the functionality of the site. So let me get into the presentation. I'm just going to provide some context, and then Jim's driving, so there we go. The site's approximately 49 acres. Current building is 541,176 square feet, and it's 26 feet high. We have access from Moody Road to the south up into Print Shop. That's 99 Print Shop. If you can see it here, 99 Print Shop So Moody Road to Print Shop into the property. And we have Taylor Road to the east, we have Shaker to the north, and then this rail line is actually the western property boundary. You can't quite see it, yeah, maybe you can. If you follow my cursor, there's actually a service road that connects 100 Print Shop with 300 Shaker. This is actually also a Winstanley asset, okay? As you can see, the site is incredibly tight. It's mostly building and parking and roads. What little green is left is, has been significantly impacted by the previous construction, ongoing construction, actually. Obviously, we don't have residential butters. It's all industrial. It's all commercial. Obviously, the correctional institutions are a little bit north of there, but you understand the context there that we do have mostly industrial, commercial users. The uniqueness of the site. If you want to, just one more, go back one more. Back to the arrow. Yep, we actually have. And I'm going to use the term, since we just talked about it in the previous application, we have conservation easements, quote unquote, ringing north, east, and west. However, they are not recorded on a deed. They just say so. Jim and our surveyors have done some digging and just either this morning or yesterday found the recording on the subdivisions as conservation easements, but never recorded on the deeds. I don't know how that's going to affect things, really. We're staying away from them. When we go to wetlands, we're staying away from them. But if you have a question about, as you did in the previous application, about access and things like that, it's, I think the intent was to actually deed it to the town, but it never happened, okay? But it is outside most of our property line, okay? But it's just an interesting thing because we didn't really think of it until we saw, that protective status there. We also have 3 wetland systems, again, east, north, west, and they are an integral part of our stormwater system as well. And again, rings the entire site. So not a lot of room to breathe there, that's why the improvements have been designed the way they have been. It's basically we're threading a needle, and those details Jim will share with you in a couple minutes. Yeah, go to the next one, please. This is just to show you zoning I-1, you can see, again, surrounding by industrial and commercial uses. And then the next slide is just something fascinating. I don't think a lot of people understood it, but now that we have the aerials, we weren't quite sure what the dates were, but I've pretty much confirmed 1985, if you look at the aerial to the left, that's essentially the full build from the 1975 construction. But look, right, that says 1985 because we don't have anything before that shows the building. We just had either vacant land or some construction, but we don't see the building until 1985, at least an aerial we could find. So look what happened in 1990. They blew out the back of the building. They added, a fair amount of real estate, and they butt up right against the wetland and that back property line. And so, guess what? We're going to lop off the back of that building for many reasons, which I'll get into. So, next slide. Yeah, thanks. So, objectives. Obviously, we want to renovate. We want to improve the vacant building, and we don't want to just meet, but we want to exceed market expectations. The market for particular tenants, like I said, that Winstanley likes to pursue, expects a certain level, a certain look, a certain condition of property, and that's what he's hoping to achieve here. We really need to bolster the operational efficiency of the site. It's just really hard. It's hard, you can't drive around, it's hard to park, it's all parceled off in these little squares, so we need to fix as much as we can. We're hoping also to upgrade, and I have to tell you, Jim could probably share more, it changes by the day the more we find. We have an incredibly aging stormwater management system. And so we hope to improve that. And the biggest difference is that now, in today's standards, we have to include qualitative treatment in stormwater. Back when this system was designed, there was no such thing. So whatever we do out there and whatever compliance we have is going to be, a sizable improvement. And then last, certainly not least, we want to make these aesthetic treatments so it has curb appeal. We want to improve the building facade and also, do something finally with the landscaping. And then last, in terms of a program, there we go, development program. As I mentioned, lopping off the back of the building, we're going to go 541,076, and we're going down to 446,000 approximately, and that will come off the back. We're going to keep it, design it 1 to 2 tenants. We're adding a 30-foot wide access road, which will greatly improve circulation. Jim will talk about that in a little bit, but music to the ears of the fire department because there isn't access back there, and on the west side, because of the way the building is currently functioning, that's often clogged with trucks. So that will be an improvement as well. We're reducing the automobile spaces. This was originally designed for hundreds and hundreds of employees that were shared within the campus, not just this building. So we're reducing the parking from 550 to 280, and we're adding 133 trailer parks. Whether they're used or not, that's basically what we like to see in association with a building that size. There is no truck parking right now, so they just park wherever they want. So organizing that parking and getting it away from the building and again, bolstering the aesthetics will be a good thing. The rear loading docks are expanded. We're actually getting rid of, they actually put loading docks in that lower left corner if you've ever been to the property. So we are removing those from the front and moving those to the back. So the net increase is 26 current, we're going to 47. Okay? So, your turn.
Okay, Val. Thank
about
you
the
very
goodies.
much. Yeah. So what I'm going to try to do is just talk a little bit about the site engineering, and maybe address some of the comments normally a P&Z commission would want to ask of a project like this, a redevelopment project like this. This is a black line drawing of the survey, not as attractive as the colored aerial, but here's the building. Main entry is located here where my cursor is. A small front field auto parking here, big auto parking. Only a smattering, maybe 8 to 10 docks here, and then 12 docks out front. No access on the east side. Full utilities to the site, but again, they're aged. The whole campus is started in 75 and has been piecemealed since then. When we approach, when the development team approaches a project like this, we try to identify what are the objectives, what are we trying to achieve here, and as Val said, first and foremost, make this a more marketable, more attractive asset. To that end, we determined that first and foremost, the loading dock area needed improvement, but there just wasn't enough space in the back of the building. Very, very limited distance for docking. Obviously, they got by with it over the years, but in today's standards for logistics type facilities, they need room. We like putting trailer parking near the docks and behind buildings. You'll notice a unique thing. The first thing we saw is trucks come into this site, they come in, they back in this location. or they go around and they back in this location, and they're completely opposite. It's a clockwise move. And what we try to do in logistics centers is have a counterclockwise move so that that truck driver can look out his window and outside and see that dock door and try to maneuver into it. Can they do it here? Yeah, they can, but they don't like doing it. And so really one of the main objectives for us was let's improve the docking, let's improve the access to the docking, let's introduce trailer parking, let's try to separate as best we can the automobile parking from the trailer movements, the truck movements. That makes a lot of sense from a safety sake. Employees in the building want to make sure they have safe passage to these doorways. The building itself, aged, interior systems needed work, and to lighten up the look of the building with some contemporary elements, newer exterior materials. It adds texture, some vertical articulation, all new windows and glazing. So a much improved building itself. And then again, a little bit more detail on the site. I'll go to the site plan. Okay, I think I'll go to this one, a little larger scale. So in order to achieve that new dock area, as Val said, we're taking about 100 feet off the building, about 100,000 square feet. We are promoting trucks to come into Print Shop Road off of Moody and make this move here, a right turn move, and then into a 30-foot wide aisle along the east side of the building into the back so that they're able to better dock in those 47 spaces behind the building. And then when they leave, they can come back just the way they came, right back through here into this intersection and out. Auto parking, as employees or visitors to the campus arrive at Print Shop, they can either go right or left. There's an improved parking field here. I think there's 158 spaces here, and over on this side there's 122 spaces. Because there's two tenants in there now, we're thinking that we wanted to set this up for two tenants. We've got a much improved building entrance into tenant B, what we're calling. However, the flexibility here is if, in fact, they had one singular tenant to take the whole building, that would be the most ideal situation. So those are really the improvements from a site perspective. Utilities, new sewer service, new sprinkler system around the entire building, new water systems, new electric lines into the building. Val touched briefly about drainage. Redevelopment sites are kind of unique. An older site like this just basically took all their storm water, put it right into the wetlands and let it go. And everything really works from east to west. In fact, there's a culvert under the railroad way over here that really was kind of our point of analysis for the site. The northern part runs in swales along the north side, actually the east side as well, into two large stormwater management areas that were constructed originally. By all accounts, they still work and operate. So the north side will utilize those two basins. But all this new stuff on the south side, we were able to introduce some elements, some oil water separators into the drainage system, all new piping, all new catch basins. We've got a sediment forebay here off this large parking area before it gets discharged. We've got a mechanical device located right in here to provide suspended solid removal of stormwater. The net effect, I won't get too geeky with you with stormwater, but the net effect is we're adding quality improvements where there currently aren't any. And when we look at that culvert on the west side, there really is no increase. In fact, all these improvements, and I'll show you a unique aerial. In fact, I'll go to it right now. This is an aerial of existing and then yellow proposed. It almost matches perfectly. And the new improvements to this site really only adds about 5,000 square feet of new pavement, maybe the size of this room. So when you have a 50-acre site, that's measurable, but it's really insignificant during peak storms. I'll just mention, in about 10 days, we're appearing before IWWA. There are 3 wetland impact areas associated with the project, about 5,000 square feet, a little more. There's buffer impacts, but the buffers are, majority have already been impacted with pavement and building. The main impact is really to a drainage swale we're enhancing in the front of the auto parking area. And then the introduction of the east side driveway just nicks an edge of this wetland that Val alluded to. We are providing a mitigation area here of about 6,000 square feet, where adjacent to this wetland, we're going to excavate out an area, plant some wetland plantings, and we thought that would be a pretty good offer to IWWA. So that really sums it up. I'm really here to answer any questions you might have about the engineering, and thank you for hearing us this evening. I apologize to Lori and to Stephen about not being available in a couple of weeks, but it's been a long winter. I'm going to Florida. So.
We're going to touch on a couple of things before we close. Good segue. Oh.
Yeah, thanks, Val.
Always on. You're always in the mood.
Look, has to hear you.
Yes, thank you. Okay, guess what we're talking about next? Landscaping. Yes, the landscaping it wasn't really done right to begin with. I think they tried kind of in the 75, 85, kind of that corporate arrival, but just wrong species in the wrong place with the wrong exposure. You get the idea. So we are introducing some sustainable species. We're introducing diverse species. We're actually going to have landscaping in the parking lots. First time. And so our landscape architect really did a good job of, selecting species that provide that diversity, but yet recognizing truck activity and things of that sort, selected things with the right habit. So we don't have overgrowth into the parking lots and things that are going to get in the way, because I suspect that's probably what happened with the existing, and you could see where they just pulled things out, clipped them. I mean, it just wasn't really intended. So that's our landscape plan. And then down here is the mitigation area, which we're actually using a finger of upland. So we're actually truly creating a new wetland. Okay, how come I can't get this down? What's the trick here?
I'll do it.
You do it.
It's,
Is it
a little
sticking?
sensitive.
Okay. Oh, gotcha. And then lighting, just to let you know, we've submitted photometrics. You've seen them in your full set if you have those. We changed out fixtures and we ran photometrics a few times because we're trying to eliminate any type of cast into the actual adjacent wetlands. And we're pretty much there without certainly compromising personal security and safety of trucks, but we're pretty much there. So we have photometrics, full cutoff, dark sky compliant fixtures. Next. Thanks.
Yeah,
architecture. Again, as sort of a signature Winstanley approach, each of his buildings are architecturally designed. We just don't go out and buy a Butler building. Has an architect look at buildings, and in this case, the redevelopment of it did present some challenges, but they've come up with a very warm color scheme. They provided some color for vertical element, as Jim had alluded to, just to break up that kind of largeness of the building. Some wood tone panels just for contemporary look. And again, no elevation change. It's just basically the cladding on the outside. And then just quickly rifle through those if you can. There you go. Well, the previous one was just, elevations. That's the floor plan. And then if you can, go back the one I wanted to. Maybe not.
This is,
no. I thought it was me.
It's embarrassing, is what it is.
You just can't. It's just.
It sticks.
There we go. Stop. Okay. So that just gives you the color palette. What's being selected. Again, very neutral tones, warm to kind of blend in, but yet give it a nice a nice new feel. Keep going. One more. Oh, floor plan, which you don't really care about because there's nothing there.
And see the docks
Yeah.
and the office areas.
Well, we always
yeah.
like to comply because, when we do a new project, the regs say include a floor plan, so we include a floor plan. So, traffic, we brought on Fuss and O'Neill to look at the traffic. They used the latest ITA trip generation manual, which actually just got revised in 2025, just to reflect more recent trends in traffic. The ITE manual and the method they employed is an acceptable method of evaluating traffic. This time it was quite easy to conduct the method because we were actually losing square footage. So they used the proper designations. You can see the land use codes below. 150 is what applies to this property. And we're not changing the use, so that land use code is going to be the same for existing and proposed. And just as I was about to say, so the take home here is that, AM peaks, there'll be 12 trips less. PM peaks, there'll be 14 fewer. It's a wash. There's not going to be, that much difference. And notably, we are going to OSTA with this. This is an interesting situation where OSTA has not changed its permitting or its approval structure since the advent of the State Traffic Commission. So this property is actually included in a major traffic generator permit that was issued decades ago with all the other Lego properties. So we have to go through very carefully the OSTA review. There is a ceiling on how much square footage they've allowed, and there's a ceiling to how many parking spaces they allow. In this case, because we're losing, we think we're going to be fine, but we still have to go through that process. So Fuss O'Neill will be continuing to represent us on that side with the state. And as usual, any OSTA permits or other things that we secure, we'll be providing for staff just as part of the record. I think that's it. Questions,
Okay.
comments?
Thank you. Do we have any staff input at this time?
Their narrative was very detailed. I think their team just gave a great overall presentation. It's basically they're trying to improve things and make the building smaller so it's more functional. So
Yes, thank you for the narrative. It was very comprehensive.
You're welcome. I like to write. Can you tell?
Okay, any...
getting the narrative
any,
from applicants is sometimes very difficult.
Okay, any questions or comments from the Frank?
Yeah, on the west side, the stormwater, are you planning on doing any scrubbers or cleaners going out to those retention ponds? And are you planning on dredging those existing retention ponds?
Go ahead, Mel.
We don't want to dredge them. Their functional value is important right now, and we feel that by dredging them, we're not quite sure if that's going to get us anything more than what's there. Because wetlands do, there's a number of functions, and they seem to be absorbing quite well. We do have some hang-ups, and we just had, we're recovering from this major snow melt, and each time we go out on the site, as things are receding, we find more things. Among those things we're finding is a few other catch basins and some other locations that may be in the wetlands that are clogged. So we want to maintain and improve what's there first, so we possibly could leave the wetlands alone and have them continue to be as Mother Nature intended. If eventually we need to maintain those, I think we would have to go back and possibly look at what the best approach would be.
So the dredging aside, on the structures themselves, like you're modernizing the east side,
Yeah.
Are you going to modernize, I guess they're called scrubbers and cleaners, where you put in to the system before it gets to the so nothing?
That's a very good question. We're really challenged with the site. It's extremely flat. It's sandy soils and very, very high groundwater. So it's really limited us in what we can and can't do. I will tell you, sir, we have more opportunities on the south side of the property to do a scrubber, a squirrel technology.
Yeah.
We have that
Because it's so old,
incorporated.
because those things weren't even invented.
That's correct. And we have 3 or 4 of those located in the south part of the site. In the north part of the site, because of the flatness and the elevations, we really weren't able to introduce any significant pre-treatment prior to the stormwater practices. The practices themselves have kind of really morphed into wetlands, man-made wetlands, and I think they're probably doing their job, in terms of cleansing mostly roof water on the north side.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, those things
we have oil. Lastly, we have oil water separators and a number of catch basins throughout
Those
the
issues
site.
really don't fall under us, but since you mentioned them in your presentation, I thought I'd ask. And,
No, it's a good question.
and I see the Win Stanley product with the warehouse you did. So I'm sure it's going to be fine. But
Yep. Well,
you mentioned it in your presentation, so I just wanted
we
to
are
ask.
continuing to look for ways to improve, particularly, again, Mother Nature wasn't exactly cooperative, but, now that all that spring melt is starting to recede, because we have a high groundwater, so it's
Right.
taking longer than, like, certainly in my yard, which is goes right down. So we want to take a look at some of those areas. The other thing that's hamstringing us is that, behind the building, particularly to the north and the west, we have conservation easement. And again, I don't know what that means, but there's something that we have to stay away from. So whatever we can do to do it naturally or to improve the percolation and the flow, we're going to continue to look at. If there's anything new, we'll come back and report. If it's something that we might have to touch the wetlands in, we'll certainly want to be bringing that up with IWA.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, anyone else? Okay. I guess we need to wait until IWW gives their approval.
Yep. A few more
And then
staff
you'll-
comments. We have staff comments we're going to be addressing, so we'll get those in. We've got a few on wetlands as well, so we can all go home and do our homework, and then we'll be back to talk.
Sounds good, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Improvements
Have a
look
good night.
really, really good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Exciting project.
I'm going to buy you guys a new
Oh, we forgot to introduce Linda.
Linda's been very quiet.
Thank you for coming. Okay, other business, I don't see any other business. Commissioners' correspondence, any commissioners' correspondence tonight?
Just curious, the new on-slab home on Middle Road we were invited to as a group. I didn't get to go out. I seen it from the street. Can't even tell there's not a basement in it. It looks pretty nice. Did anybody get a chance?
Yeah.
What did you guys think?
Joe and I happened to be there at the same time.
I mean, from the outside, you can't tell.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like the old style that we have in town there, off of Brainerd Bell Street or whatever.
That was the idea, make sure
Yeah.
it looks like a, regular.
It's not on a slab, it's on the helical pile.
Helical pile, right, that new system, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a slab under there?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
He
Long
put the-
story, but
Yeah.
that was the requirement. So the helical piles were, so they put the pilings in first, and then we said use. Yeah.
So is there an accessible crawl space underneath the floor?
Don't think so.
Not in the house. Not that I saw.
And then there's an area for washer, dryer, obviously.
Yeah, oh, yeah, it's all that.
Yeah.
And I think it's propane, isn't it? Propane? It's propane fuel.
So overall, look pretty good?
Yeah.
Yeah, looks good from the outside.
Nice and bright.
Yeah.
I wouldn't buy it.
No,
Did it sell yet, Frank?
no, it's still a for sale sign
No.
on it,
It's still for sale.
yeah. But anyway, that's what I had. I
Well, we'll see.
didn't, I wasn't
Yeah.
here for
No,
that.
it's it's a nice looking house.
Yeah. I mean, I think they were telling us it was designed to get that first-time home buyer in and make it less expensive.
Yeah,
The goal was to keep
It's
the,
a $500,000.
it's a $500,000?
Yes, it's $500,000 home.
Wait a minute, not the ones on Brainerd Road. I'm not talking about
No,
that, about
those-
Middle Road.
Middle Road, yes.
5 and a
That's what
quarter.
they listed it for.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that's why it's still for sale.
500,000. Okay, well, thank you.
Yeah, Linda.
Okay, since I'm a liaison to economic development, I don't know if anybody watched the council meeting on Tuesday, but in October, we're hoping to kick off a restaurant week for the restaurants in town. We've got a couple other projects percolating, but I can't talk about those yet because we're not there. But, yeah, we're looking, it'll be
Sounds good.
exciting.
Sounds good.
So hopefully the restaurants will offer special menus and pricing, and
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes.
Just like Taste of Hartford, right?
Just like it.
Similar to
So,
Taste of
yep,
Hartford. Yeah,
in
okay.
New Haven.
In New Haven as well.
Yep.
Okay, Chris?
Just wanted to, through the chair to staff, just curious if there's any updates on the mall. I feel like it's been quiet for a bit. I've heard questions. I don't, neighbors ask them. I've not heard anything.
No updates, nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed.
I mean, I've heard people say that the deal is off. I have no evidence to say that. So this has been quiet for a little while.
Okay.
Been a minute.
Speaking of projects, 600 Enfield Street with the yellow tanks. Wasn't he supposed to start like last month or something? You know, I walked by it.
I'm not exactly sure what the status is. We get comments like this all the time, so I think Rick is on it.
All right, thank you.
So-
If I didn't walk by it when I'm out walking, it probably wouldn't bother me, but I see it, so.
Joe?
The correspondence dinner was my first one we went to. It was, I got to talk to a few people going up to the bar to get my soda and stuff, but
Soda, yes.
that's right. I got to be honest, my overall take, I was highly disappointed. The people that asked questions and spoke got zero answers from whoever runs this thing. And I thought they were supposed to represent municipalities with the state and all that stuff, and they kept telling everybody, you should go to your state people. It's like, I thought it was not good. And almost every municipality that I got up and spoke was so against this housing thing. I don't know. I know we're going to have a workshop coming. We're trying to schedule one for us. And I hope whoever's doing it, got some better answers than what happened at that dinner. Because it was disappointing. For my first one, and, I'm sure I'd like to go to another one just to see. But the topic that was supposed to cover it, I thought was not good at all. I was disappointed, but just wanted to share my personal opinion, but that was it.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, I'd just like to remind everyone that there is some training next Wednesday on the 15th.
It's not next. no,
It's
so
Wednesday the 15th, 12 noon?
The training was canceled on the 15th.
Oh, it's been, which?
The clear.
This is Clear Edge. This is a Clear Edge
Yukon.
Zoom Yukon.
Oh, that one. Oh,
This is
okay.
this is on the new housing bill that was just, Chris
I sent out the link
sent it
via
out,
email. Yeah.
sent out the link. I assume you were copied. I think he sent to
Couple
all
days
of us.
ago,
Yeah.
It's new. I'll resend it.
Yeah, I think it's an hour's worth of training at
resend it.
noon time on the 15th, and you can sign up for it, and it's the Clear Edge training. So look in your emails.
So we're going to learn about what you were supposed to learn?
It's on the bill. Yeah. It's focused. entirely
The problem is the people who wrote the thing don't even have the answers. I mean, it was.
They didn't.
I mean, John was there, and
It was understood that they were only.
it was.
we said that.
I didn't get anything out of it, other than that, everybody hates it.
Yes, I should have said.
There was one woman that spoke from Suffield, and that she brought up some stuff that's in the Connecticut Constitution that sounds like it could be prohibiting the legislature from doing what they're doing, but I have yet to find it, and I don't remember her name, but I don't know if you ever looked at the Connecticut Constitution. It is like reading hieroglyphs. It's amazing. But, yeah, I hope this thing that Christian's letting everybody know is better than what we went through.
Well, we'll see, you know, it's an easy thing to do, anyway. Anyone else? I think we're good. All right, so Director of Planning report.
Hi, thanks. Just since we're on the topic, so the housing bill is 107 pages. Every cog out there has been trying to figure out what it says, gesundheit. I actually was on an hour-and-a-half meeting today with our CROG, and there's so many things in there that are just not very clear, and yet we're supposed to have some of this done by July 1st. I don't know whether, I think there was one town out of maybe 25 people that was on the call today that actually had started their regulations for this. So as a matter of fact, Steve and I were discussing that we're going to need to really hunker down and really try to figure this out. OPM has chimed in. All the other COGs have chimed in. Different staff members from different towns have chimed in, and there's not a great consensus as to exactly what this means, what they're actually asking for. But we're definitely going to be getting more on top of this, and we'll probably have a workshop pretty soon on that. So yeah, it's a big thing. So I don't even know if most towns are going to be able to meet that deadline, and that's a minor deadline. So
When can people file an application under that new statute?
I don't have an answer to that.
They absolutely have no
That's the
idea.
least of my worries.
You could ask the people that wrote this thing, they couldn't answer that question.
Well, that's the problem. Quite honestly, in my
boy.
opinion, I think that it might be an interesting and probably productive and good bill for housing. However, I just think that they pushed it out a little bit too fast because there's a lot of questions. So, yeah. So, on a positive note, Jeffrey Aragoni started. He came in Monday. He's still coming in, and we were going to have him come tonight, but we thought, let him just kind of get into the swing of things a little bit first.
Sounds good.
Georgie's replacement.
Oh,
George's replacement. So, and let's see, anything else? Okay, so the land use training. So we did cancel the one for next week. We had a questionnaire coming out to everybody. We're still waiting to hear from Laura and Terry. Huh? Oh, you did? Okay. Okay, good. So Donna left at 4, so this was as of 3:57. So it's either going to be on the 28th or the 29th.
You're holding everything up.
I doubt that.
They want you in.
So, we got a lot, we're up to like 15 or 16 or 17 attendees, so that's a lot better than 9.
A lot better than.
So,
What did they pick a date?
it's either going to be the 28th or the 29th, we're going to decide tomorrow, so you'll get an email tomorrow, most likely.
We had to pick a time, too. I think I picked
Right,
6.
we will let you know tomorrow because we were giving it to the end of today.
So we were actually voting when we were answering.
You were.
Yes.
You were. See all the checks and the empty spaces?
I think Walter fired off that email the other night.
No, yeah, we were already, he stirred us up, but we were already thinking about it.
I just had gotten back from Florida. I said, Walter,
Yeah.
what's going on with
Yeah.
this thing? He
Yeah.
goes, what do you mean? What's going
No,
on?
and it's actually worked out better because it's that last 5th week where nobody usually has anything scheduled, so that will be either the Tuesday, the 28th, or Wednesday, the 29th, and time to be determined. Time and date to be determined, but we'll let you know probably tomorrow. Because we've heard from most people. I don't think there's much else.
Okay. Authorization for administrative approvals and applications to receive, sounds like it's one and the same. Under application to be received, it says administrative approval. I don't know if
Yeah,
it was
so
meant to
it
be
will be.
above.
We're not going to discuss it this evening, but just as far as being received, SBR 1965-1561 King Street. This is a request for administrative approval for modification of PH 3128, incorporating CTDOT requirements and relocate drainage pipes. Global Development LLC applicant, Alimo Family LLC owner.
Not you.
Map 17, Lot 40, BG zone. This is the EV charging, lot.
Okay. Opportunities, unresolved issues? No executive session?
Motion to adjourn, please.
Second.
Second, all in favor? Aye, we're adjourned.